Son, where'd you find this?
Don't be offended by the truth. They be offended because you called out the truth. Simple as that. They don't want to hear any other narrative that makes them look bad.
And one thing I can't stand at this big grown age is somebody who acts like cause and effect does not exist. Like, yes, your actions caused this outcome. Yes, what you did lit the match. Like, why are you surprised and playing victim?
Guys, Chico. They never lie.
That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late, they cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll.
Yo. I see you, Rob. Give me 1 second. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat. City, I see you in the building. Happy Monday. Peace and blessings to the good people. I'm about to send out this real quick to Rob. I hope everybody enjoyed their weekend. I hope Monday has been good to you so far. Appreciate you for being here. You see the title. Shout outs to my writers, my poets, my content creators. You know the list is long. I always got to give my flowers out to the people. I said this in a post earlier that by the time this stream was over with, you might rethink the food that you're consuming. And there's a reason for that. I'm going to share it in a second, just in case you need reference. I have a video that I'm going to play, but I want to get some quick commentary before I jump into it, because this is going to be a doozy, man. This is like a 9-minute clip. This woman deserves to be heard, and that's what I want to do over here on this side of the internet. I really don't have the political strings connecting me or holding me responsible like so many other platforms. So I'm gonna let her get her bars off. But let me bring Sydney and Rob up to the big screen real quick, man. Um, let's see here. Yo, yo, yo. What up, what up, what up?
Peace, peace. Happy Monday.
Likewise, likewise. How we feeling? How was your weekend? Sydney, good evening to you as well.
Good, man. Very good. Very good. Got some stuff done this weekend, so that's always nice.
Always, always. Sydney, what's up? You pulling up without sharing the snacks.
I know, even my daughter was mad at me. She was like, I want the blue popsicle. I was like, this is the last one. But luckily there was a pink popsicle, so she got that one.
I know it.
But I'm doing really good. I turned in my manuscript today. So I have my first book with chemicals.
Right.
That's fire. That's fire. That's fire. That's what I like to see, man. Productivity.
Progress.
Yes, yes.
So they said it should be ready with all the editor's work and stuff like that in April-ish. So.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Real quick, before I play this video, because she got some stuff to get off her chest. Has anybody even heard of the term Uncle Sam's Snuff factory? Has anybody heard of Katie Grove before?
Nope.
No.
Is that the lady that got kidnapped?
Apparently, she's a survivor of a trafficking ring. And honestly, I don't even know if she's still alive right now or not. This video is fairly old, but it's brand new to me. And with the Epstein files and all of these different videos and clippings coming up, when I saw this, it was like, yeah, let's go ahead and put it on the table too, since we airing out all of it. Let's just go ahead and put this on the record book. So that's why I asked if anybody had heard about it before.
You did, right?
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring this up. And I got a small screenshot of something that I'm going to read off. The screenshot, y'all might be able to read it. You might not unless you can zoom in on it, but I'm going to read some of it from off my phone just so that you know that this is a reliable source. I'm not taking it from rage baiters, nothing like that. And it's in regards to this video. So get comfortable, grab you something to drink, whatever, and let's get it.
Hello, my name is Katie Groves, and I am a survivor of the child snuff industry. This video is about my experience growing up in a child snuff ring known as Uncle Sam's Snuff Factory. This ring was located in Central Texas, and I will speak about it in the past tense only because I do not have current knowledge of its existence. But that does not mean I have any reason to believe that it has been shut down. Based on my hazy recollections, hazy because of the torture, the dissociation, the drugging, etc., them killed for programming. I cannot give you an exact location, but I know that it was somewhere in Central Texas. My home was in Austin, and I recall the drives being about 45 minutes to get to this place. I recall it being in farmland, the entrance at least, but most of the ring being underground. Many people have a hard time believing that child snuff exists, that even snuff exists, then let alone that high-ranking government officials and military agencies orchestrate it. To believe that there are deep underground military bases that commit mass genocide against children, film it, and sell it on the black market for quote-unquote gore whores, snuff fiends, slop sluts, snuff kings. To watch it is unfathomable to most people. Unfortunately, that is reality, and that is a reality I know too well. I spent the first 17 years of my life being taken to that place on a near daily basis, sometimes held for longer periods of time, in which I was incarcerated, did not know if I would ever see daylight again. I've witnessed thousands of murders, largely of children of color, who were systematically targeted for their race by the white supremacist government, which runs the United States. They called it Uncle Sam's Snuff Factory as a private joke, as if it was a mom and pop shop, a local business. Uncle Sam was supposed to be a friendly figure, a figure in American propaganda, supposed to look at like a father, like a friend. The Snuff Factory, also known as the Genocide Factory, is the very literal definition of hell on earth. It is not unique. There are other places like it all over the world. I have been trafficked there as well. But what I can say is there is no place like Uncle Sam's. It is one of those places where a person can get literally anything they want for the right price if they have the connections to be there. I have seen wealthy, aristocratic white women ordering children of color on menus to be delivered dead, cooked on platters in a wing of the place they called Cannibal's Kitchen. And the reason I'm alive and the reason I survived is because I was born into an organized crime family involved with the CIA who ran this operation. And I have the genetics, the family background to be a candidate for perpetration, for continuing the cycle of violence, from being one of the quote-unquote leaders or members of the group involved. So I was kept alive for experimentation, for slavery, for use. I have fought my way out, and if you want to learn about that, you can watch any of the videos on my channel. It'll be informative. But I still suffer every day deeply with the post-traumatic stress. I have polyfragmented dissociative identity disorder as a result. It actually goes beyond polyfragmentation. I have something called exponential fragmentation, which I have spoken of in some videos I'll put in the description below, so that you can understand the level of trauma that this type of abuse can create. I weep for my brothers and sisters in this place. the ones who are undoubtedly still alive and suffering there. I weep for the dead, but death is a merciful option in a place like that. No, that does not mean that I am not grateful for my survival, but grateful is a hard word to use in the circumstance. How does one feel gratitude when they have witnessed such carnage? Because we're not just talking about death, we're talking about the worst possible ways to die. Children being boiled alive in shit and piss that predators paid to donate into iron tubes. We're talking about children cut apart, fed to other children for people's sexual gratification. And most don't want to look at it, and I do not blame you. I do not blame the survivors of this abuse who stay dissociated, who remain used and enslaved because they cannot look either, because they cannot come to terms with their experiences. And I do not blame the general public who will not look. But this is reality. And all I ask of those who watch this is that you remember that while it may be excruciatingly painful for you to look at this reality, to think about this being possible, there are children. I ask you to remember and acknowledge that there are children who are surviving it every day. There are children enduring this, dying in this, and surviving this, who have to carry that pain all alone. And if they can do that, maybe you can muster the strength, if you have it, to look, to think about it just enough to get involved in some way to stop the madness. And no, I do not expect you to find this place, to find these underground trafficking rings, bust down the doors, and rescue these kids. I doubt if that will ever happen before World War III comes or some epidemic and wipes us all out, while the people who perpetrate this remain alive in their underground worlds, and so on and so forth. Don't even want to go into the whole NWO thing right now. No, I don't expect that from you. I don't expect you to stop this in that way. But there are people fighting human trafficking. There are people who need voices. And at the very least, I encourage you to extend your support in some way to those who have survived, even if you cannot help those who are lost. I don't know how to help those who are lost. But there are people like me, and no, I'm not asking for myself, but for everyone. There are people like me who have survived these things who need help. They need therapists, we need doctors, we need lawyers, we need support, we need friends. We need new family because most of us have lost ours. And if you can be that for somebody, you can help the collective damage created by these rings. And hopefully one day that collective spirit will be strong enough to take this stuff out at its source, to go down into the trenches and actually rescue the majority of the children in child trafficking who never make it out. Thank you.
There you have it. One of many videos that I've scrolled across since I've laid eyes on the Epstein files being revealed. This one, all of them are, but I take these particularly serious just off of the fact that I don't even know where this woman is right now. I don't know if she's alive. I don't know if she's still making content. But for somebody to go out of their way to make this public and to speak on it whether or not you believe it's real or not, that takes a lot of courage to do that. Initial thoughts, anybody?
First of all, I want to say, well, one, I looked into it and it does, I believe that it is a legitimate story. It's being promoted on, I just closed the website. Why did I close that? 50 Voices, which advocates for children of who've been subjected to horrific things by adults in particular. And just to start off, I commend her strength and her the mental work it must have taken to get to the point where she can actually talk about this, because if it's sad, like I think the numbers are roughly 1 in 2 or 1 in 3 women will be assaulted in their lifetime, will be mistreated in some way in their lifetime by somebody that they know, or possibly a stranger, even though that's less common. And I think 1 in 6 boys will experience the same thing, even though I've always believed that statistic is probably wrong because men are less likely to come forward about it. That being said, if you have not been through it, it can be very hard to understand just how deeply stuff like that can impact you. Just a single incident can affect you for the rest of your life and will sit with you and cause trauma that you may never fully recover from. Some people are lucky and they don't have serious things happen to them, if you can even consider that lucky. But regardless, whatever your exposure was to that form of violence, it will sit with you for the rest of your life. And to have to go through that for 17 years, as she described, I can't even imagine. She has incredible strength, incredible power, and I commend her for that. Again, the work it must have taken to get yourself to a point where you can actually be comfortable about voicing the horrors that you had to experience as a literal child. And with everything going on, 100% believe that it's not the only person experiencing this past. I fully believe that this is a widespread thing. We're already seeing other countries starting to investigate. Even our war efforts are being controlled in a way by this. I recently found out that one of the countries that we are getting in spouts with right now has told our president that they're going to release the evidence they have if he attacks them, which I find amusing in a very small, dark way. But yeah, this is a big problem, and it's something that has been going on for a long time. It's just been a lot easier to cover up with now that we have all the social media and technology stuff everywhere. It's easier for the stuff to come to light, but it needs to come to light. Treating children like this is beyond incomprehensible. And some of the stuff that she was describing go way beyond what I even would have expected from a situation like that. So for anyone going through what she has gone through, is going through, hopefully we can prevent it before more kids have to go through that. But power and strength to them and their recoveries and their abilities to get away from these horrific, disgusting people.
I'm not surprised. They had a book. I don't know who wrote it. The Delectable Negro. That shows that. And then I don't know who wrote it. I'll check in 1 second. But they showed what they was doing to Africans of American descent, babies. Remember they talked about feeding them to the alligators. Jingle Bells, the original reason they said for jingle bells is because they would put the bells around the slaves' necks so they couldn't run. The hush puppies that we love so much with our catfish, fish and chips, whatever, fish and grits. They said the runaway slaves would run and drop the hush puppies down so that the dogs would find them and get off their scent. So we know what was happening, all of the sadistic stuff that was happening. One thing that is not known too, but that we don't probably talk about enough, is how Europeans, Eastern Europeans, treated the people in their own country. They was doing stuff like this to their own people way before. So with this stuff now, just these guys are hiding in plain sight. And two things I think about, we know that people have been buying and selling children since the beginning of time. And then we know that some people will do whatever they can to live forever. They will try their hardest to extend their time looking for the fountain of youth. What I'm happy about now is that stuff is being aired. On the other side, I'm a little upset because I feel like if we had this energy for the people that have been doing this long, because this stuff had been coming out. If we had equal energy for every movement, I think we would be way further right now, because even, thinking about what ICE, had we had followed up with the civil rights movement and things of that matter like we were supposed to, we probably wouldn't have these problems, because like the girl said, this stuff has been happening to people of color and it's been swept under the rug. So the good thing is that now there are means to put this stuff out, because when I watch a movie, I think of movies like this all of the time, and you see them, they see them all the time. As much as they are make-believe, you got to come up with something in order for somebody. Something had to be done in order for somebody to think on that curve. You can't just make that up. You know what I'm saying? And you would look and say, well, she can't be lying. And I know just for people of color alone, with the Tuskegee project, what they did to Henrietta Lacks. The water was poison in Flint, Michigan. We know what happened to Black Wall Street, which is not the only massacre. And then we know also with the Native Americans, how many massacres they had, and what was done to them was just out of pocket. So this is nothing new. I think what the shock value is that to see a lot of, to think that, oh, well, they're doing it to each other. You wouldn't think that, because in the media, there's certain cultures are portrayed as perfect. That they could not do this stuff, certain religions. And at the end of the day, a lot of times that's the people who are doing this stuff. And also at the end of the day, that stuff makes a lot of money.
It's all boiled down to money, power, greed, and like you said, in eternal life. The fact that these people really believe that sacrificing human beings through fear, taking the blood and bathing in it, gives them clearer skin and gives them longevity that the average person won't get. It's evil. There's no other way to put it. If you never believed in good and evil, I don't know what you call this. Everything on social media, just about, not all of it, but a large majority of it, was designed to distract you. There's another video of a woman, and matter of fact, I should, but I'm not. If I break it down real quick, she's basically playing a clip of someone who is telling you the plans that they had for us all across the board. Then we've spoken about it a million times. Their only objective is to rob, kill, and destroy us. And as much as we are supposed to be equal on this planet, they don't see us that way. We're cattle to them. And it's sickening. It's sad. It's even worse when you are so fearful that you putting this type of information out is going to get you in trouble, as if you're the problem, bothers me even more. Like, ever since I done started going down this rabbit hole, and I said this the other day, I believe it was on Saturday, I went back 20 years or so. I was hardcore with the conspiracy stuff. Everything that I watched up here was Illuminati or Freemasons this. I was really in that stuff, like hardcore in it. But like, I was watching this so much, I couldn't really grasp or comprehend or wrap my mind around the idea that another human being could do the things that women like Katie Groves is describing. I just couldn't. So I said, stop. You fast forward 2026, all this stuff is resurfacing again, and they're showing you receipts. And it's like, oh, yeah, we're here. We are here. And I agree with you, bro. I wish we would have taken this more lightly then, but I don't know if anybody was really going to be able to conceive this. Like, even me, I'm watching it. When you go back to the Twin Towers get hit and all of these different things about aliens and stuff like that, nobody's really going to believe that stuff. You might be curious, but you're not really going to be locked in and want to know if there's a possibility that there's another energy out here and people are vampires, literally. Now you look at it and you're rethinking stuff. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I do agree. But I think this was their agenda the whole time, honestly.
I think it's crazy funny, not funny in a ha-ha way, but like dark funny, that the entire campaign when Hillary was running, Trump was running his mouth about the cabal and the rich people's like the democratic underground trafficking of children, and going on and on about how they were like taking advantage of kids, and the Illuminati and the rich people who are all involved in this. And lo and behold, it's actually true. And he's the head of the mob of all this stuff. And it's, to me, it's not surprising, but it's still wildly surprising and crazy to me how interconnected this is. It's not just like celebrities. It's not just preachers. It's not just politicians. It's everybody, other countries, businessmen, as I said, celebrities, preachers, like people in politics, people in education, people who have nothing to do with the industry really. They're just kind of like in the background doing stuff. Like it's so interconnected, and they all know each other, and they all have this like creepy underground trade essentially of humans. It's crazy to live through this and see this happen after hearing, because I was a teenager in an early 20s era when I was hearing about all of these rumors. And at that age, I was just starting to learn how to like suss out whether something's real, learning about conspiracy theories, like all the stuff with aliens and Illuminati and all that stuff. And at the time, it seemed unbelievable. I'm like, no, there's no way the world could be like that. Like people would know about it. It would be out there. And to find out that it's true, it makes me wonder how many other conspiracy theories people have been going on about for years that we have cut people off and silenced them and like, oh no, you're just crazy, just ignore them. It makes me wonder how many of these people knew what they were talking about. And we were just the ones that couldn't believe reality.
Yeah. Again, I ain't surprised though, because we knew. I had been studying for like 20 years. We knew kids was missing. I remember the milk cartons. All the kids on the milk cartons that you see at school. I remember the afternoon posts. I mean, the afternoon like little TV shows or little commercials that used to come on while you're watching your cartoons when you get home from school. I remember the guy. What's the I think he was in Star Trek. William Shatner. What did he do to? What was that? I forget it. What was that show? Y'all know what show I'm talking about. Was it America's Most Wanted? No. What?
Yeah.
When you trying to find people.
Yeah, that was it.
And then I remember Corey Feldman, the actor, child actor that was coming out about that stuff happening in the industry, and he went through it for that. And then we knew again with the natives, with Nat Turner, the rebellion, the guy who led the slave rebellion in the South. Supposedly they ate him when they caught him. They cooked him and ate him. Without going too far, a lot of times in the Bible, you know, they talk about eating flesh and stuff like that, drinking the blood. And I think that the shock now is that it's, I say, quote unquote, the heroes, the American heroes, the true. You know what I mean? Like I even heard one time where this off, but John Wayne, they said John Wayne was a mean person. And you're looking like, what? Man, John Wayne, man, the cat, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like
bang, 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 bang.
It's the people who are being accused now, where it's like, because you got to think, right? They ain't really have here. Some of them don't have no enemies, right? So they made Superman, they made Batman to take on all these aliens. The X-Men was about the aliens, it was about oppression, right? They had to make it look like, okay, well, we got to fight the aliens, because we're the good guys, And when you look at it at the end of the day, they even talked about, I remember, what's the dude that wrote the conspiracy book? William, what book was that? He talked about MK Ultra and all of that. I got the book. Behold the Pale Horse. Bill something. And he talked about all of that stuff. and he taught one thing that stuck out when I only read half of the book so far. One of the popes that was elected pope was he was a chemist, and he made the chemicals that killed hundreds of thousands of Jewish people. And when the war was over, he thought that he was going to be executed, and he fled somewhere to the Vatican and got elected as a pope. And he said, I remember in the book that he said George Bush was one of the people that helped him get in as the pope, and he served for a couple years. So now it's the fog, but again, it's like, oh no, these can't be our leaders, these can't be our heroes. And at the end of the day, when you look, even they said George Washington was using slave teeth, making shoes out of slave skin, making lamps, making furniture. So, again, it's just more, okay, now it's okay, you could point these people out. And it's a shock value because at the end of the day, they made it look like it was everybody else the whole time. It was everybody else. We was the ones violent, we was the ones lazy, we was the ones stealing all the time, we was the ones power hungry, we was the ones trafficking and doing all of this. And at the end of the day, I talk to my friends all the time. The spiritual aspect is one thing, but I don't think you make $1 billion being totally legal.
Hell no. Ain't no fucking way in the world you about to do that. I'm glad you brought that up because I said that.
Sorry,
yeah,
bro.
Like, you good. I said that the other day too. You might be able to get to 1 million. You might be able to get to 1 billion. But I know for certain that there are things that you have to do to maintain it, flip it, and everything else in between. There's no way in the world that your hands are clean 100%. Your generations will never go broke or starve. You had to have a plan. You're not dumb. You're not just frail old white people or Jews who just look like they would never harm a fly or hurt a fly. You use your brain and you have a resource that a lot of us don't, and you have ties and connections that a lot of us don't, and you figured out a way to string it along throughout your genealogy without people really catching on to it until maybe more recent. The stuff that we're talking about right now, again, you wasn't considering any of this to be a real thing. I used to look at some of these folks like they was nuts. I did. Man, oh, you just saying random stuff, man. You don't know what you're talking about. What do you see on your social media now? And I remember that story about Nat Turner. So you just confirmed it again for me. These folks have a different level of desire that you cannot comprehend. It goes beyond, I got all the money in the world. You get bored. You pretty much can afford anything you want. What's left? I need excitement. What is it? You chasing that dopamine hit? You gotta have it. You gotta have it. Don't matter what form it come in. And for anybody who believes in spirituality, believe in God and anything like that, if you are somebody like a Bill Gates, and you've made all of this money. You want to live as long as you can to spend that and enjoy it. I mean, that's how I would think. To some extent, I mean, I know there's people that will confess right now that they have created something. I have to find it. I saved that shit. That's why I love what I be doing. They created something that can reverse age. Not like Benjamin Button you and you revert back to a baby or nothing like that. But what it can do is actually reverse or slow down the aging process. Yeah, I'm not exaggerating. I'm gonna do either I'm gonna do a stream on it or I'm gonna do an upload on it. They try to live forever as long as they possibly can. And why would you, if you felt like God didn't exist and there was no consequences for your choices and actions, why would you be fearful of death? Why would you be trying to outlive, or why would you be trying to cheat it? That would make sense why you hear these stories about sacrifices and this, that, and the third. I've gotten to the point in life where nothing is off the table. Every single thing that you can imagine being a possibility is a possibility. At this point, if you told me Bigfoot was actually real, I wouldn't even doubt it. I mean, we've had monsters, we've had dinosaurs, we have things in the ocean that we've never discovered. Why were there even movies about vampires in the first place? Why are there movies about cannibalism? Why are there movies about hostiles? We just did a show on that not too long ago, hostiles. So now what? Now what do we do with this information? Are we still playing around with it? Are we still treating it like it's just a trope? Are we just going to sweep it under the rug and keep on living like it's not happening? Because that was what they was guaranteed we do anyway. So now what?
You heard what the old boy said. I guess they took the prince down over there in with England, UK, or whatever. And old boy said we need to forget about it. And that's no laughing matter. I'm just laughing at his response. At the end of the day, first of all, we gotta be careful, because I think everybody has like their legit side and everybody has their wild side. So Stokely Carmichael talked about it, and Huey P. Newton. They call it revolutionary suicide. When you you jump out and you follow the truth and you begin to expose these things, then you alienate yourself from the rest of society and you get cut off. And the first thing they do, is make you look crazy, make you look weird. They got so many ways to unalive you. They got so many tactics that they could use right now to just wipe you off the grid. So the first thing you got to do is be careful. I think the second thing you have to do is begin to take care of your family, because I think about this all the time. I think no matter what, even before government and the advent of money and this and that, people were tribal and they took care of their families. I can't see it breaking down no other way. And a lot of times, two things that come with American values are violence and dysfunction. So we got to find a way to get our families in line and prevent this stuff with our families and teach our families how to protect each other. And then also see if we can reach and build networks to protect each other in our relative neighborhoods. And hopefully maybe we could build a connection to other countries. Because like I said, this is not just common. When I've been looking at in all these other countries, they did the same thing, like the wars in Somalia, the wars in deep Africa, how they cutting people's hands off and they was taking girls and this and that. This stuff is still going on. We got the prisons here. You know, the prison system is notorious, and that was a direct result of the slaves being freed. Again, they was locking each other up before, but once the slaves being free, they had to find a way to make them work for free again. So now you got the prison system. And as a child, you know, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, but the stories that I heard about people that I know, from people I know who did stints in prison, were and are still horrendous. You know what I mean? So, and then also too, it happens in just the regular family a lot of times. And a lot of times because it's our families, we won't say anything, right? So we gotta look inside out first and make sure that we get ourselves together, you know, and then we gotta see if we could build a wall against this stuff. Because again, we'll look and point the finger at, oh, this they doing this and they like this and they like that. A lot of times that's dangerous because we don't know who the they are. And then second, that stuff is happening in our backyard. And a lot of times we don't say anything because it's not ours. It's not our people, you know, and we'll sit there. I wish it was, I wish you would. And if it was me, I'd do this and that, da 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 da. And the one thing I learned out of all this time is you don't know what you'll do in these situations. You don't know what. And then, you know, everybody quick to forgiveness and forgive this and forgive that. You don't know what you'll do in these cases. And again, the shock value is now coming out because these are the people we admired. Like you can't, the president of the United States can't be a criminal. Has to be an upstanding, law-abiding citizen. So I think that it's the culture that's being pinpointed. Because the one thing what the girl said, she said first she was in, her family is in the mob. So I would be interested to hear who she's connected to, who helped her get out. And then she said it was happening to people of color. But when you look at the Epstein files, 99.9% of those were Caucasian, European, you know what I'm saying, of European descent. So with that, again, it's a shock. And at the end of the day, when you look, it's crazy how much of this stuff was going on in plain sight. And we was just immune to it. When you listen, we go back and we listen to the music. My favorite artist, some of them lines, it's like, whoa. And then you would think, okay, well, it's just for shock value. They just said that to sell. But at the same time, they was in those environments to where you've seen a lot of that stuff. And it's so, again, to me, this stuff been going on. It's just that now we at least have the social media and we got our outlets to where you can't really be silenced. You know, after a while, like you said, you don't never hear about the girl again. You don't never, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, where everybody got these phones and we got all these apps, which is going nowhere, as example by TikTok. you could get your piece out, even if they muted or whatever. It's gonna share. It's gonna share. So again, we gotta make sure that I gotta make sure that I'm not throwing rocks and living in a glass house, right? And I also gotta be careful how I present this information because it's dangerous.
One of the things I wanted to mention, we were talking about a little bit ago, with how money changes you. There's a reason why the people that are billionaires and multi-millionaires are in the positions that they are, because it's kind of two different feedback systems. One, you have to have a certain personality to aspire to be wealthy like that. You also have to have a certain personality to make the decisions that will allow you to reach that point. And the feedback comes with, they've shown this with science. This is not just me throwing it out there because it makes sense. It's actually been tested by science and has been proven by psychologists. Money changes the brain. Once you reach a certain level of wealth, I believe it's 750 million net worth, it literally changes your brain to be less social. They call it pro-social, which is people who have reached that level of wealth no longer consider people to be resources. They only consider them to be assets, essentially. I don't remember if that's the exact wording they use, but basically in a nutshell is they no longer see people as, oh, we're part of a community, we're in this together, we're working together, we're here, like we're friends, we're whatever. They see them as, what can I get out of you and how can I use you? And so at a certain point, people of that high caliber wealth, they don't care about anybody. There's a reason why a lot of wealthy families are disconnected from their kids, disconnected from their parents, disconnected from everyone else in their lives, except the people that are sycophants, basically, because they no longer care about people in the capacity of pro-social, what can we do for each other type of behavior. There's only, what do you do for me? Do I have the resources to pay you back for it? And this is exactly what we see from our president and all of the people that he works with and surrounds himself with. And these are also the same people that are perpetrating these types of crimes. They're the people that are highly, highly wealthy. They own islands, they own mansions, they own jets, they can afford to buy military or buildings and whatever they want to further their purpose. And I think the hard thing for people to get is that they're not going to be confronted with their crimes with guilt. There's no way that we can ever show them their victims, show them what they've done, appeal to them in the way that you can appeal to a normal person that made a mistake, committed a crime, did whatever. These people are so antisocial is not the right word, but just for the sake of the discussion, I'm just going to use that word. They're so antisocial. They care so little about other people that they don't care about their crimes. They don't care what they've done to other people. They're the only thing that will ever make them feel the burn of their crime is if they're literally taken away from everything. If they have no access to their wealth, no access to their connections, no access to whatever. But these people are also so exorbitantly rich, they can afford to pay their way out of danger. They can pay for the best lawyers. They can pay to go to private prisons. They can pay their bails to the utmost amounts. And even in prison, they can continue to pay to get the things that they want while in prison. They can pay off guards. They can pay off people. They can pay off the people that own the prisons because they're so wealthy. So these people are, we use, not defense, punishment standards based on what normal empathetic human beings learn from. When a good portion of us go to jail. We suffer in jail. It's a punishment to be in jail. It's a lot of us, some people feel the remorse. They sit with what they did. They come out and they have that regret. These people don't have any of that. They're so far gone. They know that everyone else around them is nothing. They have everything. They can do whatever they want. And it's sad because, of course, they're also the ones perpetrating some of the most horrific crimes we've ever had to deal with in our lifetimes. Obviously, there have been things that have happened in the past, but like in our current era, it's some of the most despicable behavior you could possibly see on this planet. Like, no individual serial killer could come close to the type of stuff that these people are perpetrating if all of these, which they very likely are, all of these stories are true. And I think that speaks to the challenge of addressing this problem, because they're so wildly connected as a posse of criminals, but they're so disconnected from everyone else. They don't care about their crimes. They don't care about the repercussions. They don't care how we feel about us. As long as they have their money and their power, they're happy. They'll continue to do whatever they can, and they'll just take slaps on the wrist. Like, this is a mild example, but still kind of illuminates my point. What's his face? Jeff Bezos lives in, I think, LA, and he has this like giant fence around his house. It's like 18 feet tall or something. It's like a hedge that goes way, way up there. And it is against all the city codes. Like, it's higher than it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be see-through, whatever. Any normal person, they get fined. Like, oh, let me take this down. I don't want to keep getting fined. This dude gets fined $1,000 a day, I think, for having this fence up. He just pays the fine. He leaves his fence up and just pays the fine. These are the types of people that we're dealing with, where they're so exorbitantly wealthy and could care less about everyone else that they're just like, if I can pay it, it doesn't matter. And of course, a lot of them own everything. So, yeah, you are quite loud, Missy. But it's sad because I, of course, as well as many, many other people, want justice so bad and the exposure for all of these horrendous things that they've been doing. But I don't have a lot of faith that it's actually going to happen because of this limitless power and this complete apathy for how everything, like, they live in a completely different world than we do. And I don't think people realize just how far removed they are. I mean, probably wanting to live on Mars is a good example of how far removed they are. But yeah, this whole thing is led by people with money, no doubt.
And with you saying that, I want to leave with this last part that pretty much adds on to what both of you said. Do with this information as you will, but apparently we are eating and we have consumed things that we should have never ever consumed. Case in point, I want to bring you to this right here. Y'all can go look it up all you want. Apparently, a lot of the things that we eat and consume has been infused with the cells of infant DNA. Now, this portion that you see up here on the big screen, you can Google it. It's an actual site. It's called Cinemix. I might have slaughtered the word. And just to read from off my screen, just in case you can't see it up there on the big screen, do the research all you wish. I hope you do. That's the whole purpose of the stream. Just a little bit of history here. Biochemist Lubert Stryer founded Cinemix in 1998. In May 2001, Stryer returned to his professorship at Stanford University and resigned from Cinemix, but continued to be the chairman of the Scientific Advisory Board. Around the year 2001, Cinemix patented several flavor enhancers by using proprietary taste receptor-based assay systems, which have been previously expressed in human cell culture. In HEC 293 cells. HEC 293 cells are a cell line widely used in biological and medical research, immortalized through genetic modification, removed from the original embryonic kidney cells in the early 1970s. The company's stock declined after Pepsi reversed the trial rollout of Cinemix ingredients in their sodas in 2016. It goes further on in this image up here where they sued. They didn't want what they were doing put in their content, and they were awarded in certain areas, but in other areas, they found that they are putting the DNA in the cells of fetuses in your favorite potato chips, in your favorite meats, your favorite drinks, to add that extra flavor that you like. I just report what I find. You do with that information what you will. But that's just more testimony to what Sydney and what Rob is saying up here. How they've been getting away with it for years. And it's just, you pick up a can of Coca-Cola or Pepsi or ginger ale, you think it's just some big words on the side of a bottle, but you don't really know what any of that stuff actually is that they're putting in it. And to add on, in addition to this, and I'm going to yield the mic just in case anybody want to close out with something. This wasn't even, this right here, this Cinemix HEK shit, part of my language, it wasn't even approved by the FDA at all. So they went around it. They went around it, found other ways to get use out of it without following proper protocol. And here we are. Now, if anybody wants to add anything in this before we close out, be my guest.
Yeah, I do real quick. Get it. Sydney, I'm piggyback off what you said and basically called Stockholm Syndrome too, because we can't just look at the elite, because a lot of people want to get to those levels. And like I said, a lot of this stuff is happening in our communities. But, they say when the oppressed get in the position of the oppressor, they typically take on their views and start looking down on the oppressed people. When we think about the billionaires, a lot of times, like BG, Bill Gates, I look at it a lot of times like I can't expect him to, try to help everybody. But when you look at the research that those guys are doing, if that's true, what they're saying is like, what are you researching this kind of stuff for? And then I want to look at the laws. Again, I think if we don't change those foundational laws, then a lot of this stuff will continue to go on no matter how much we talk about it, because the laws were in fact designed to protect those type of people. And again, for something that, if I did something that the president did, I'd probably get 10, 15 years. But him having the best lawyers, this and that, and I think that's a total. I look at the laws that continue, because we know we want to change, we know we want to fight for change, this and that, da 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 da. But those same foundational laws that are allowing this stuff to go on haven't really been changed. So until we do that, I think a lot of this stuff is going to still go on.
I don't have to read the whole thing if you don't want me to read the whole thing, but I do have a poem section that exactly mirrors what we were talking about earlier about us being cattle. So I felt like I had to read that part.
You got it.
Okay. Do you want me to read the whole thing, or do you want me to just read the part?
You can read the whole thing.
Okay. So this one's called Ling Chi, and if you're unfamiliar with that term, it means death by 1,000 cuts. I was washing dishes. I gazed out the whitewashed wooden window, roses in the breeze, yellow and red, gently waving as if to beckon to me. I observed the empty blue sky and began to wonder about life. I think about my kids, my spouse, my dog, my house. I wander as I wash the knife. We can't carve out enough time for them all. Between bills and appointments and academic commitments, we sever our ties with the loved ones in our lives. We cut off our ears to make peace with the noise, and we slice through the day without stopping for joy. At home, I'm not fun, but at work, I'm under the gun. From my bosses, from my coworkers, from the people on the streets, in our homes, in our office, in our schools, and sometimes even the pool. No matter where we are, the threat of violence is never far. But my hands need to stay busy, riding the razor-thin tightrope of time and quality as I work for the work of once three. Cutting it close, my fingertips ache. Is it knobs for my job digging in, or is it the nubs I chew them to be? No wonder everything sucks these days. No time, no focus. We all have to work. Our bleeding red accounts hint at how close we cut it every week to pay, to eat, to sleep, for our lights, for our heat. We can't just take our own axes and go chop wood or snip wicks of candles from the fat of our steers. We can't just do what we want. We don't own anything. After all, we are the cattle. Living in wooden shanties they allow us to live in, walking across mud flats they maintain for us, consuming the products they made for us to make us sick and fat. We chew our cud as they tag us, steal our children, and milk us dry. And when we are done, they usher us in masses to the chute, whisked to the butcher for our final use. We are not cut out for this life. For a moment, my hand ballet taps along the absent taunting boundary between insignificance and pain, just like our own waltz on the edge with our wealth and our health, and the friends that we keep like a doll on the shelf, who we only pull out to display for special occasions, fiddling with loss like a loose thread of that button we'll never fix. We don't love one another. We don't love ourselves. We use one another. We use ourselves, like they are tools instead of a temple. We seek an existence other than our own, bathing in percentages and weight measures, consuming cutting-edge fashion for sharp new looks. Every weekend though TV lies, we buy and buy, using knives to tell ourselves we are worthy. We use scars to brag that we are whole, even as others drag their blades across our pristine paint. We allow it so we have the excuse to subject ourselves to the pain of needles and stitches. We bleed for those who hurt us. We stare straight into the eyes of the ones who stab us straight through the heart. We forgive those who backhand us, backstab us, and backtrack us, letting them leave their notches like we are their tally stick of success. Instead, digging into ourselves with our nails, a tiny nick, a tick, towards the eventual end. We chip at ourselves for others. We dare whittle ourselves away for acceptance, yet do not have the courage to pare away our own excess to create our greatest form. A bright red rose petal reaches into the sky as if plucked into a frenzy by an invisible hand for connection. I'm suddenly back in my feet. In my hands is a knife, and on the blade is my reflection.
Get it there.
Yeah, I thought it very much speaks to how different our lives are, and then also the slow demise that society is causing to us is this discrepancy between the wealthy and us, how we are barely getting by and really killing ourselves for them. And meanwhile, they're in their fancy prisons living like they're normal.
Go with this. Close the show out. Shout outs to both of you. Real good to have y'all up here tonight, man. Cinemix, check that out. I highly recommend it. Just for your own eyes, so you know it don't come off as if this is rage bait or nothing like that. I don't do that. I just thought, this would be something that you could discuss with your peers and things of that nature. My thoughts and prayers to everybody and anybody who is going through what Katie Rose is going through, and or the families who suffered in direct effect of what happened with this, or is going through it right now. We just don't know what's happening. You guys enjoy your evening. Be safe. Keep your eyes and ears on your loved ones. And we out. Do me a solid before you go, if you don't mind.
Push the goddamn button back.
Peace.
See you Wednesday.